A young man snaps his eyes open, panic surging through him, as he spots an IV drip nearby. His head is wrapped in bandages, leaving him totally disoriented and gasping for air. Slowly, the boy realizes he is lying in a cold hospital bed. Looking up, he notices the fluid bag hanging there. He sits up fast in bed, heart racing, and wonders where on earth he is. He glances out the window and hears some birds chirping in the distance. But the view is a total shock. A modern city, packed with massive skyscrapers, looks completely alien to him. Because of this, he feels even more lost and totally overwhelmed. He leans down, his face a mask of pure terror. Looking at his hands, he sees one is heavily bandaged. He touches his body, desperately trying to make sense of things. The young man finally gets up and stumbles toward a mirror. With a shaking hand, he picks up the glass to see his own reflection. Looking into the mirror, the young man sees a face he does not recognize. Just as he is about to speak, a sudden noise cuts him off. It is the sound of footsteps. Someone is approaching his room. Suddenly, a nurse opens the door and walks inside, but she finds the hospital bed completely empty. Confused, she enters the room while calling out the name Habar, but the boy is clinging to the ceiling, and the nurse does not see him. The young man prepares to strike the woman with a sharp pen. He wonders where he is while slowly reaching toward the unsuspecting nurse. Hanging upside down, he points the pen directly at her throat. Suddenly, a blinding light flashes and the young man is stunned by what he sees. Time jumps back 10 years. A fierce battle rages in a forest as a figure sprints through the Kyoto mountains like a furious gale. His teeth are clenched so tight they feel like they might break. Under the massive pressure, his teeth actually start to shatter. His muscles are pushed to the limit. With a loud snap, his leg muscle completely tears apart. This is Goku, a ninja, praying for his master's safety. While praying for his lord, a cold chill suddenly runs down his spine. He can feel that something absolutely terrible is about to happen. In the distance, the ninja sees the Hanogi temple swallowed by fire. Soldiers surround the area while the flames consume everything in sight. Goku is horrified by the scene and grips his sword with everything. Flaming arrows rain from the sky, striking several soldiers on the ground. The ninja dodges the arrows as his comrades fall around him. Everything is chaos while the temple burns. He feels total despair, realizing his master might not be safe. As his sanity slips, a blue aura explodes from his body. He activates a ninja technique to instantly heal his mangled leg. The ability forcefully stitches his torn muscle fibers back together. The warrior plants his feet and screams his lord's name aloud. Jumping straight into the fire, he rushes in for the rescue. But a shadow emerges from the flames, declaring he shall not pass. The man recognizes him as Goku, Lord Nobunaga's personal ninja. With eyes glowing bright blue, the servant prepares for battle. His opponent is Ruga, the legendary taker of 999 lives. Goku charges forward at incredible speed to face the samurai. With a furious gaze full of power, he launches his attack. Ryuga mocks him, saying it would be a waste not to fight. The samurai prepares to draw his sword. His blade moves at the speed of sound to strike the ninja down. But Goku is faster. He catches the tip of the sword and uses his incredible strength to shatter the enemy's blade. For a ninja, the speed of sound is basically just a slow crawl. Ryuga is reeling. His strike was blocked and his weapon completely shattered. That is when he spots the glowing tattoos on Goku's skin. This shinobi is superhuman, channeling the raw power of nature through his veins. With one massive leap, Goku shows them what a real ninja can do. He nails the samurai with a brutal face kick, ending the fight. Cloaked in a blue aura, the warrior charges forward without a second thought. Before the enemy even hits the dirt, the young man has already vanished. He makes it deep inside the Hanagi temple in no time at all. Surrounded by flames, the warrior touches down, searching for his master. But what he finds inside that inferno is a scene of absolute horror. It was his lord's body, pierced by countless blades like a porcupine. Tears well up in the ninja's eyes at the tragic sight. Suddenly, a mysterious hand shoves one of those blades even deeper. Goku screams out for his master, calling the name Nobunaga. Standing right by the body was the monster behind this nightmare scene. A man wearing a one-eyed mask, his skin covered in tattoos. Consumed by rage, the ninja demands to know who this villain is. He lunges forward with a lethal strike to avenge his fallen lord. Underneath that mask, the mysterious man seems to be smiling. The warrior attacks with every ounce of his speed and fury, but the masked enemy blocks the ninja's strike with zero effort. Every one of the ninja's hand strikes carries incredible power. His strikes are powerful enough to slice through steel like butter. One of his strikes slams directly into a massive wooden beam. Those fists are capable of smashing straight through solid rock. He throws a punch with all his strength right at the enemy, but to his shock, the masked man easily defends the attack. The masked man easily manages to block every single strike. Annoyed, Goku demands that his mysterious opponent finally show his face. The masked man then retreats, floating backward. He lands gracefully while a dark aura swirls all around him. The villain finally reveals his true form to the young ninja. Goku is stunned by the terrifying appearance of his new rival. The enemy uses a massive scroll for both offense and defense. That is when the ninja realizes he is facing a scroll user. Weaving a series of rapid hand signs, the man prepares his forbidden technique to summon an immense power. He performs the signs with incredible speed and perfect precision. The villain focuses his dark energy into his masked eye. With the final sign, he unleashes his powerful magic. A massive bolt of lightning crashes down from the heavens, while Goku, surrounded by fire, desperately tries to shield himself from the attack. He crosses his arms to tank that massive electric discharge, but when he looks up, the enemy is already gone. The ninja screams in a rage, demanding he return and fight. Just then, his master calls out to him with his final breath. The dying lord tells his loyal servant to let go of the worry. Nobunaga realizes the enemy is a beast with terrifying power. Goku stares at his master, his eyes filled with grief and resolve. The lord accepts his defeat and orders his ninja to run away. The servant can feel his master's life force slowly fading out. Using his final ounce of strength, he collapses in pure despair. The teenager finally realizes that there is nothing left to be done. Battered and broken, the ninja feels totally powerless in this moment. A wave of deep frustration begins to consume his very soul. He recalls his master's vision of a world free from conflict, a kingdom where everyone could thrive in peace. Now, the ninja finally understands what that word truly means. He thinks back to the time his lord shared that dream. This vision of a quiet, peaceful world was Nobunaga's ultimate goal. Through his tears, Goku vows to keep his master's dream alive forever. Suddenly, the master's glowing spirit appears within the fire, saying he has reached his absolute limit. The fallen lord's body starts to disappear among the countless blades buried in the dirt. In total desperation, the warrior screams his leader's name at the top of his lungs. Meanwhile, the masked villain just watches the tragedy unfold with a cold, heartless stare. As the temple falls around him, the boy stays kneeling, crushed by the loss of his master. The servant folds his hands in prayer, honoring the memory of the man who just died. Following ancient tradition, he decides he must sacrifice his own life to follow his fallen leader. Gripping his sword tight, the young man accepts the tragic destiny of his warrior class. With a sad smile, he wonders if that peaceful world really exists somewhere out there. In this era of endless war, he never saw a moment of peace. Even so, the young fighter holds his head high with fierce determination burning in his eyes. Because his master believed in a better world, he chooses to put his trust in that vision. Wrapped in a strange, glowing light, the young man wishes to be reborn in a place of total peace. Without a second thought, he finishes his sacrifice. 500 years later, a massive modern building stands under the bright sun on a beautiful day. Inside a clinic, the doctor asks the boy to state his name and how old he is. Looking CRAs, the student answers that his name is Habari, and he is 17 years old. We see the outside of the huge hospital while the doctor continues talking to his young patient. Then, the doctor asks the boy to repeat his name and his age one more time. With a straight face, the boy says his name is Habare and he is in high school. The doctor smiles, telling him he has recovered amazingly well and is finally ready to go home. Outside, a nurse congratulates him on leaving and reminds him that school is about to start back up. The guy remembers waking up totally confused and almost jumping the nurse from the ceiling of the room. He lets out a sigh, relieved that he did not end up hurting that poor, innocent woman. Walking down a modern street, the ninja realizes that some truly bizarre things can happen in life. It seems like the warrior's ancient soul took over the body of a student who was in a coma. The teen thinks about his master and that world of peace the great leader always wanted for everyone. He is positive that he was fatally wounded by his own sword during that massive fire back then. Although he has no idea how he woke up 5 centuries later, the boy accepts his new life. Looking up at the clear sky over the city, he lets out a quiet, genuine laugh of relief. Up ahead, a mother and her daughter are playing happily with a puppy right on the sidewalk. The student walks past them, watching a scene that feels so full of love and pure innocence. The former warrior's face softens as he watches this simple, comforting moment play out before him. With a warm smile, the young guy finally gets what true peace is all about. The young man decides it is worth trying to live quietly in this new era. But he soon feels a strange discomfort and notices something off with his body. That stiff uniform made it pretty tough to move as he headed toward the school gates. Out of nowhere, a massive guy and his 2 goons blocked his path, yelling the student's name. Laughing, the big bully sounds shocked that the kid was even alive after what happened. Sizing him up, the ninja notices the guy is wide open and does not seem dangerous at all. Plus, the mysterious stranger approaches with a massive, hyped-up grin on his face. So, the hero naively assumes these guys must be friends of the body's previous owner. One of the goons nudges him, demanding he show some respect to the big boss, Kuma. The young man stares at the giant bully, while trying to process the name he just heard. Being super polite, the protagonist flashes a bright smile and greets his supposed classmate. The big guy laughs, satisfied, saying the student got way more obedient after his little accident. Making a mean face, The brute mocks the nasty fall that messed up the boy's head. Suddenly, the big guy grabs the kid's neck, promising they will have a fun school life together. Caught completely off guard, the former ninja's eyes go wide when he hears those specific words. The young man focuses on that sentence, thinking school must be a totally awesome and fun place. After all, during his dark past in the war, he never got a chance to enjoy life. Pure and innocent, the young man smiles back, thanking them for being such good friends and protectors. Looking pretty hyped, the bully drags the student by the neck toward their usual hangout spot. Being led away, the boy happily thinks this is his first time ever walking with a partner. Checking out the school's beautiful courtyard, the hero feels like he finally found his true peace. But that dream shatters when he sees the big guy stomp on a student, demanding he lick his shoe. Watching that cowardly scene, the protagonist just stares with a blank look, trying to make sense of it. Then the big guy blows smoke and orders the victim to lick his shoes until they are spotless. While the goons laugh and film everything, the bully mentions the kid used to be a pro at this. But suddenly, the brute's face completely shifts, showing a look of pure rage and irritation. Glancing at the red-haired kid on the ground, the big guy remembers something and shifts the focus. Then the coward uses the poor boy's head as an ashtray, joking that he found a new chair. One of the sidekicks pulls up a video, and the boss brags about hitting the redhead's sister. The footage shows the poor girl being harassed by the bullies while she begs them to stop. On the screen, the young girl is crying and apologizing, while the bully thinks the whole thing is hilarious, laughing his head off. The coward says he almost wrecked her clothes just for a few more kicks. Hearing those awful words, the redhead starts shaking with pure hatred and despair right there on the ground. Then the boy snaps and lunges at the giant, begging them to just leave his sister alone. But the brute fires back with a heavy blow, slamming the poor kid down and telling him to stay out of it. Totally ticked off, the big guy screams that next time he will do even worse things to them both, violently grabbing the redhead's hair. The monster forces the student to keep apologizing over and over. Watching all that cruelty in silence, the former ninja's expression turns cold and extremely serious. Then the hero walks calmly up to the bully leader and puts a hand on his shoulder without blinking. That move leaves the sidekicks in total shock while the brute himself turns around, looking alarmed. Clearly, the boy from the past has no clue how tech works and didn't understand the video. However, the young warrior knows one thing: cowardly moves like that are the exact opposite of peace. With that, the student says there is nothing more pathetic than a weakling picking on the defenseless. The red-haired student on the ground stares up, completely stunned by his classmates' sudden bravery. But this direct insult makes the giant's blood boil, and he turns around furiously to confront the boy. Right then, our hero just wanted to stay out of trouble, telling the truth without looking for a fight. Being totally honest, the former ninja mentions he has bad memories and asks the bully to show him how it's done. Standing tall with an imposing vibe, the guy lifts his foot and waits for the bully to lick his shoe. That gutsy move was the final straw. A vein pops on the coward leader's head, showing his absolute rage. Totally blinded by anger, the brute loses it. The heavy air in the room signals that a fight is coming. Letting out a wicked laugh, the giant mocks him, saying the kid must have left his memory at the hospital. Then the monster cracks his knuckles, threatening to teach our hero a lesson he won't forget. Despite the massive threat, the former fighter keeps a calm gaze, showing absolutely zero fear of his enemy. With eyes glowing with fury, the coward charges in, throwing a massive punch right at the young man's face. Meanwhile, the sidekicks film the whole thing, smiling because they think their classmate just made a huge mistake. The reincarnated warrior was actually pretty distracted, almost intoxicated by how peaceful his new life had become. After all, the bully never imagined a kid this weak would actually have the guts to stand up to him. In that moment, the hero is caught off guard, and his reaction time lags by a fraction of a second. But the young warrior's survival instinct kicks in, and he reacts with a single devastating blow. Purely by natural reflex, the young man lands a perfect punch right on the center of the brute's chin. The sidekicks and the hurt student are stunned, seeing a technique that clearly came from intense training. The impact is insane. The big guy flies through the air, spitting blood and ending up totally defeated. Staring at the unconscious giant, the protagonist realizes what happened and blames himself for not avoiding the fight. But the warrior's body just reacted on instinct, and now the big guy is bruised and on the ground. From the sheer force of the blow, the brute flies backward and hits the ground, completely knocked out. Seeing that, the young man starts to panic, totally caught off guard by his own strength in the moment. The young warrior starts to freak out, thinking he might have accidentally killed an ordinary citizen. But suddenly, one of the sidekicks hears his boss groaning in pain and realizes he is still alive. Hearing that, our protagonist lets out a sigh of relief, though he is still shocked by the outcome. With a pained look, the former ninja stares at his own hand, feeling the bone shift inside. Looking closer, the hero realizes his fingers were all injured from the force of that punch. After all, a normal student's body just can't handle the impact of a powerful ninja technique. Then the sidekicks start panicking, screaming that their boss's face is totally deformed. They rush to help their injured friend and yell for someone to call an ambulance right away. As they carry the giant off, the group vows revenge, while the boy just watches it all in silence. Checking his injured hand, the young man is just glad he didn't end up seriously hurting that guy. Right then, the hero walks over to the red-haired student, who was still lying on the ground. Startled, with a gentle touch, the former fighter puts a hand on the boy's shoulder to see if he's okay. But suddenly, mysterious white smoke explodes from the redhead's body, leaving everyone there totally confused. The protagonist is shocked to see that strange smoke coming out of nowhere and stays on high alert. Enveloped by the mist, the boy stands up from the ground with a serious, totally different expression. The warrior from the past recognizes that move and wonders if it's some kind of clone technique. Eyes fixed on the smoke, the young man stays on high alert, ready for any sudden movement. Through the mist, the red-haired student appears with a cigarette in his mouth and a seriously threatening aura. Taking a step forward, the young man makes a comment about the move the protagonist used during the fight. Sensing the man's dark intent, the former ninja stays vigilant and glares right back at his opponent. Then the orange-haired young man asks directly if his classmate is a ninja too. With glowing eyes, he repeats the question while a strange tattoo starts to appear on his face. The warrior from the past realizes the guy saw his birthmark, and finally understands the whole situation. Taking a puff of his cigarette, the mysterious student reveals his true identity. The man introduces himself as saying he's part of the country's famous and feared Ninja Union. Suddenly the school uniform vanishes, and he appears wearing a full black and red tactical outfit. Then the assassin flashes a hand sign and gears up for a lightning-fast strike on his target. Masked in smoke, the enemy drops into a battle stance, claiming he is only here to take out the hero. Totally confused, the former fighter wonders what this Ninja Union is and what their mission could actually be. The kid looks down at the kneeling assassin, trying to wrap his head around who this Hattori guy really is. In a flash, the enemy lunges toward his target with some seriously insane speed. Caught off guard, the student's eyes go wide as he sees a sudden attack raining down from the sky. The assassin leaps way up and hurls two weird-looking objects straight at our protagonist. Taking a closer look, the hero realizes they're electronic vapes spinning around like deadly shurikens. The former ninja locks onto the projectiles, using his sharp reflexes to prep for a quick dodge. Meanwhile, the enemy weaves another hand sign and screams out the name of his next big special move. Clapping his hands together, the assassin readies a dangerous and super powerful smoke bomb. The vapes slam into the ground, flooding the entire school courtyard with thick, white clouds. From deep inside the fog, the enemy yells his secret technique to smoke prison. Our hero is completely stunned as the rising smoke traps him. Suddenly, the mist starts spinning like crazy, creating a massive whirlwind right around the young warrior now. Even though he can barely see, the student from the past tries squinting through the heavy smoke curtain. The hero grabs a random weapon, still having no clue why he's being hunted down like this. He quickly snatches up a metal pipe off the ground, hoping it's enough to block the incoming attack. Despite the total chaos, the young man knows he can't afford to drop his guard for even a second. Pipe in hand, the former ninja barely deflects a surprise strike coming from deep within the haze. The sound of clashing metal rings out across the courtyard as both warriors lock eyes with pure, burning anger. Even with the odds against him, the kid stays focused and faces his opponent with total grit. The assassin is shocked his near-perfect cover was blown. After all, ninjas use disguises to gather intel and infiltrate top-secret locations for their mission. They blend into crowds to finish missions without being noticed. Sometimes they look weak, other times trustworthy, all just to trick everyone around them effectively. Keeping their claws hidden, these spies live normal lives, until it's finally time to strike their prey. But without warning, that friendly face vanishes and the true nightmare is finally out in the open. Then they unsheath their claws and wipe out every target without a single shred of mercy. The enemy is actually impressed by how well the hero can mask his own fighting spirit, and the former fighter notices the redhead's talent for acting like a weak, defenseless nobody. Now the protagonist gets that Hattori is the real deal, and he wonders if other ninjas are lurking. Using the distraction, the enemy mocks the young man for thinking too much in the middle of a fight. The assassin blows a cloud of cigarette smoke right into our hero's face on purpose. With his eyes burning, the student from the past curses his opponent for pulling such a cheap move. Moving like lightning, the redhead ninja manages to slice the protagonist's arm with his blade. The young warrior let out a sharp groan, feeling the deep sting of the cut his enemy just landed, but he fires back with a massive kick, sending the assassin flying to get some breathing room. The enemy uses the smoke to his advantage, vanishing back into the mist to plan his next move. From inside that smoke prison, the man taunts him, claiming the hero will never find him in there. Starting to panic, the protagonist shouts for his opponent to just wait and stop the fighting. The young man says he doesn't even want to fight and just wants to know what the hell is going on. The enemy's voice echoes out, warning him about a dangerous ninja and a serial killer loose in the district. He reveals that his actual mission is to hunt down this criminal and end things once and for all. The former fighter realizes this guy is a pro at masking his presence and staying completely hidden. A shadow blurs through the smoke, showing off the modern assassin's mind-blowing speed. The hero recognizes the smoke style technique as a variation of the fire style he already knows. He figures it's a stealthy assassination move designed for doing silent and lightning takedowns. The enemy claims the young man never registered with the Union, making him the prime suspect. But the kid just says all he really wants in this life is some peace and quiet. Hearing that, the assassin just laughs and calls him a liar, not buying it at all. Suddenly, hands made of smoke grab his leg as the assassin yells that ninjas never find peace. He adds that a quiet life doesn't mix with being a professional killer like them. The old fighter realizes it's just a smoke clone and only the arm was actually real. Then, the assassin hurls several sharp kunai from the mist to take down his target. Blades surround the young warrior as the enemy tells him to get ready for the end. Looking serious, the hero realizes he was right about his suspicions from the very start. He calmly closes his eyes, accepting the situation and the truth about this new era. As the blades draw near his neck, the kid just keeps his eyes closed. He finally accepts that there really are some powerful ninjas in this modern age. The veteran fighter gets it, and a blue aura starts glowing around his neck. With glowing eyes, he sighs that the peace he fought for was just a total lie. It looks like the war never ended as he lets out a burst of blue energy. With eyes wide open, the hero unleashes his full power, catching everyone off guard. The energy blast sends the kunai flying and destroys the smoke prison instantly. The assassin is completely shocked, failing to understand how it happened. Usually he tracks his targets in the smoke by their body heat and movement. He basically senses their presence, which gives him a massive edge when fighting in the smoke. But when our hero unleashed his special ninjutsu, something totally unexpected went down. The assassin is terrified once he realizes his opponent's presence has shifted entirely. The veteran's aura grew massive, filling the entire battlefield in an instant. Breaking into a cold sweat, the enemy is paralyzed with fear by that immense and overwhelming power. The young warrior's presence was so intense that the assassin couldn't even track him. For the first time ever, the ninja can't pin down his target and starts panicking. Desperate, the man tries to find a student, but his presence is everywhere at once. He wonders where his opponent could be, frantically looking in every single direction. But suddenly, a cold blade is pressed against the back of his neck. The young warrior appears silently, leaving the assassin in total shock at his speed. With a smirk and glowing eyes, the hero from the past says the fight is over. The modern ninja is speechless, totally defeated and stunned by his target's pure skill. The young man says that if he were a real enemy, the man would be dead. He clearly knows nothing about this era. Confused, the assassin wonders what he means by this era and who he actually is. Then the student reveals his true name, introducing himself as the legendary ninja Goku. The hero says he was reborn in this time, and the assassin screams his name in disbelief. The former fighter stares at the modern ninja while explaining his weird situation to him. The legendary young man says it's the truth he really is, from 500 years ago. With that, the kid asks a favor and tells the man to teach him some things. He then asks the assassin to show him where he can find some good food nearby. The modern ninja is still processing everything, wondering if what he heard is actually true. He thinks the whole thing is madness, while watching the legendary Goku walk away calmly. Meanwhile, a mysterious frog watches the entire scene from afar without being noticed by anyone. Staring intensely, the frog repeats the name Goku in its mind. Meanwhile, the ninja takes the legendary warrior to a fast food joint called King Burger. Looking at a poster, the former warrior wonders if that strange thing in the AD is actually food. The man from the past is in total disbelief, asking if that can even be called a meal. The modern ninja confirms it, explaining that the strange dish is called a hamburger. Feeling lucky, the redhead asks for the cashier's number, but gets rejected right in front of everyone. Holding the trays, the legendary warrior notes he has never seen food with such bright colors before. Without thinking twice, the redhead bites his sandwich while the other stays wary. The modern ninja chews happily, clearly loving the meal he just ordered at this fast food joint. Still suspicious, the former warrior decides to sniff the burger before taking his very first bite. The man from another era stares at the food with a serious and deeply suspicious look. Gaining some courage, he takes a small bite and his eyes widen from the intense flavor. To his shock, the legendary ninja realizes this hamburger is actually incredibly delicious. Then he explains the modern Ninja Union, a group better known as Sh. They also handle issues like illegal drugs and shady black market deals in the city. Plus, they're responsible for controlling illegal firearms and blades within the criminal underworld. Basically, they deal with gang wars and problems the local police won't even touch. It turns out that using ninjutsu requires a special license issued by the Ninja Union. The redhead explains that union members must memorize the face of every single person in their group. Since our protagonist wasn't registered, they immediately assumed he was a dangerous enemy. With that, the modern ninja bows low and sincerely apologizes for the whole misunderstanding. mouth full of fries. The former warrior says it's okay and tells him not to worry. The hero brushes it off, saying the injury on the redhead's foot will heal quickly. The modern ninja is shocked by the man's chill attitude and wonders how he stays calm. The orange-haired young man is totally charmed by the hero's vibe, finding him truly radiant. Thinking to himself, the redhead remembers that Goku is the strongest ninja in all recorded history. The modern operative can barely believe this absolute legend is sitting right in front of him. But in reality, the legendary warrior is just shoving fries into his mouth wide open. Even so, the modern ninja keeps blushing while staring at his impressive new companion. He tries hiding his excitement so the legendary warrior doesn't notice anything weird going on. The redhead thinks he can't look like an amateur if he wants to stand by his hero's side. Changing the subject, the young man says this whole reincarnation story is just plain unbelievable. Then he asks if the legendary warrior can perform a jutsu like the one from earlier. With a serious look, the former warrior denies it, saying that jutsu wasn't his doing. The hero wonders if it involves the secret jutsu of that mysterious one-eyed ninja. Then the protagonist tells the redhead his new name is Habari, which totally confuses the guy. He explains that Goku was his old name and that from now on he is hearing his idol's new name. The modern ninja cannot hide his bright red face. The newly named Habari says he wants to try living a brand new life under this name. The red-haired man thinks his idol's new name sounds totally amazing and very stylish. With sparkling eyes, the modern ninja clearly has more to say to his hero. The former warrior tells him to drop the formalities, since they are the same age now. The protagonist gives his new friend a gentle look and a really charming smile. With his face completely red, the modern ninja timidly nods and says, "Yes, sir." After that, the redhead reveals there is another reason he attacked the protagonist. The legendary warrior asks if he is talking about the robed ninjas lurking in the city. The modern operative confirms this and explains the Ninja Union's strict rules for its members. He says there have recently been cases of ninjas openly attacking innocent civilians in the streets. The first case happened 1 month ago when the Minister of the Environment was visiting town. On that rainy day, the minister was walking through the city streets with his personal bodyguards. After finishing his business, the minister went into a deserted alley to smoke. He publicly opposed tobacco, but he could never quit his secret smoking habit. Even though every alley entrance was secured by guards, something terrible happened in there. Suddenly, the bodyguards hear a panicked scream coming from deep inside the dark alley. The minister suddenly appears screaming and clutching his throat, as if he is choking for air. The bodyguards panic when they see their boss's face swell up and turn purple. The men rush to help the minister, but he collapses and starts writhing in agony. With one last cry of pain, the official dies right there in the alley. His lifeless body lies still while his guards watch in absolute terror. Looking serious, the former warrior listens closely to every single detail of the story. The redhead keeps explaining that the autopsy found traces of a lethal poison in the body. Since then, more victims have popped up across the city, all killed in the same strange way. Plus, the redhead mentions that the whole case is being hidden from the public. To the modern ninja, only a fellow shinobi could have bypassed the security to use that poison. Through gritted teeth, the agent swears he will hunt down the killer and end this for good. Habari watches the young guy, noting his burning sense of justice and duty. To himself, the hero decides that young Hattori talks too much but seems trustworthy. The old warrior grabs the redhead's attention and points out the regular customers in the diner. He explains that nobody there cares about them. Everyone is just living their lives in peace. Most people think ninjas are just characters from old stories or legends. If they knew the truth, it would only trigger mass panic and total paranoia. The hero says the underworld stays hidden while they protect the peace up on the surface. But he finishes by saying that right now, that very peace is under serious threat. Suddenly, the fast food joint transforms into a scene of total destruction and terror. With a determined look, the legendary warrior seems to have made a big decision. The redhead asks the former warrior for help tracking down the person using the poison. The modern agent remembers the hero said he just wanted a quiet, peaceful life. But he insists that if that's true, the hero can't just stand by and watch. Without saying a word, the legendary ninja looks at his new partner with a serious gaze. Staring at the modern agent, the hero from the past reflects on his new life. He thinks about how he always followed his lord's orders, and now he has someone new. He remembers his old master, a man who dreamed of a peaceful world for everyone. Closing his eyes, the man from the past remembers the wish of Lord Nobunaga. With a determined look, he agrees to help, offering his strength to the mission. The modern ninja is shocked and speechless after hearing the legendary warrior say yes. Excitedly, the redhead thanks him, saying that having the hero by his side is like having 100 men. Then, the modern agent asks for the hero's number to contact him via the Ninja Union. The former warrior is totally confused and asks what this number thing is all about. The orange-haired guy explains that nowadays, people use devices called smartphones to talk. He hands a cell phone to his new partner and asks if it's his device. The screen lights up, showing a photo of a redhead and 240 missed calls. Later that day, the hero gets home and finds a mysterious woman waiting. A tall, long-legged girl stands there with a very serious look. The red-headed girl yells at him, asking where he's been and what took him so long. Looking guilty, the former warrior simply apologizes for being late. The redhead starts bossing him around, telling him to unlock the door so she can shower. Without complaining, the young man just nods and gets ready to open the front door. The woman asks if he went to McDonald's, accusing him of eating junk after the hospital. She scolds him, saying that kind of food is basically poison for his body. At the mention of poison, the hero goes on alert and starts suspecting the woman. The girl introduces herself as Yui, an acquaintance of Hibari's mother and a university student. The redhead explains that she was put in charge of looking after him after he got out of the hospital. Blushing hard, the modern operative is totally captivated by the girl's beauty and gives her a sweet compliment. Hibari wonders if he should actually meet her, and the redhead confirms that he definitely should. The modern operative tells him to just use a map app to find her specific address, but the redhead says it will be fine and tells his new friend not to worry about anything. He warns the protagonist to stay sharp since a ninja could be anywhere. Arriving home, the warrior notices the rain and stops on the sidewalk. A voice calls from inside, and he says he is coming in with his bags. Suddenly, a manhole cover starts moving on its own right in the middle of the dark, rainy street. A hand made completely of water emerges from the manhole and moves silently toward the house. The rain begins to pour and night falls over the city, making everything look a lot more dangerous. Inside the house, the red-haired girl thanks him for his hospitality and enters the apartment's hallway. The protagonist watches her closely, starting to question her true identity and what she is really after. He thinks back to her comment about poison and remembers how suspicious it sounded to him back then. Looking wary, the former warrior wonders if he can truly trust this mysterious woman or not. The girl mentions how tidy the apartment is, which catches the protagonist completely off guard. Hibari says that the thing bothering him the most is the excessive weight of his companion's luggage. He finds the weight of the suitcases strange and starts to suspect something is off here. With a mischievous grin, the red-haired girl says she brought a nice surprise for him inside the bag. The protagonist gets curious and wonders what could possibly be inside such a heavy piece of luggage. She pops the suitcase open and starts carefully taking out various pieces of gym equipment from inside. The protagonist tries to slam the suitcase shut, but the girl is much faster than him. She mentions that his school is pretty rough, which is why he tried to end it all on the roof. With a confident smile, she explains that he will need some serious help to beat someone stronger. The young woman hands him a cup with strange powder, claiming it is exactly what he needs. The former warrior stays suspicious, wondering if this is actually some kind of deadly poison. But the girl reveals it is just some Jack Soulless protein meant to help with his training. The protagonist is totally lost and does not understand a thing when he hears her mention protein. Sitting on the floor, the woman calls him a weakling and says he is still the same guy. She points out that it has been 10 years since the last time they saw each other. The young woman starts hauling various dumbbells and heavy weights out of her massive suitcase. The man from the past is stunned to see just how much gear she actually brought along. The girl complains that he is way too skinny and lacks the muscle needed to survive a fight. She says she brought all this gym equipment so he can start his training session immediately. The young woman adds that as his big sister, she has been losing sleep from worrying so much. The protagonist stands there frozen, holding the weights, without any clue what is actually happening. She starts showing him how to use the gear while complaining that he does not know anything. Our former warrior wonders if she might be a secret enemy trying to pull a fast one, but after watching her struggle with the gear, he concludes that she probably is not an enemy. He realizes she is just genuinely concerned for Hibari and really wants to help him out. The man from the past is stuck in a dilemma, unsure if he should keep up this act. The girl explains his mom helped her out a lot, so she is here to return the favor. She announces she is moving in for a bit and grips the equipment with a determined look. With a kind smile, she asks him never to think about ending it again and to take care of himself. The protagonist is left speechless, just watching her stand there with the heavy dumbbells in her hands. He wonders if he should reveal the truth and tell her he is not the real Hib. But before he can say a word, she interrupts with a tired sigh. The woman complains that she is all sweaty and needs a quick shower to cool down. She complains about the long walk from the station and starts taking off her clothes right in front of him. The old warrior's eyes go wide, stunned by the girl's bold and sudden move. She tosses her clothes on the floor and asks him to grab her a shower towel. Face turning red, the ancient fighter wonders if shame just vanished over 500 years. The girl hops in the shower and starts a long, relaxing wash to clean up. Outside, the hero sits on the balcony, waiting patiently for her to finish up. He picks up the phone and stares at her picture, remembering her name is Yui. The ex-warrior realizes she is really just a normal friend of Hibari's mother. Suddenly, a blue lightning bolt drops from the sky and strikes him right on the head. With his eyes glowing, it looks like an important memory just clicked in his head. The young man stands up and walks to the balcony, watching the rain begin to fall. A mysterious man watches the rain, noting that it always pours when something is about to happen. Hibari tenses up, knowing that heavy rain is the perfect cover for a ninja attack. The rain muffles footsteps and hides your presence, making it way easier to sneak in. With a sharp gaze, the former warrior scans every possible way into the house. He spots the one main entrance and readies himself for an attack from that side. The fighter also counts 3 first-floor windows that an intruder could use to break in. Plus, he spots 2 more windows upstairs that he needs to keep an eye on. Smirking with confidence, the hero keeps every door and window under his watchful eye. But while he's guarding the house, the red-haired girl finishes her shower. As she walks through the room, a creature made of water rises from the floor and approaches her. The enemy has finally arrived, sneaking in through a secret entrance that the hero never even knew existed. The girl continues her routine peacefully, not noticing the strange presence looming behind her. She spins around, confused by a strange feeling, but sees nothing. When she turns back, the water monster's right there, inches away and ready to strike at any second. The water monster shows its terrifying face, filled with razor-sharp teeth and glowing eyes. The beast grabs the girl from behind, and a weird mark suddenly burns onto her shoulder. The girl screams in pure terror at the monster, while it smiles with a long, gross tongue. In a flash, our hero appears and lands a massive punch right to the monster's face. He shields the red-haired girl, facing the enemy with nothing but pure rage and determination. The girl shouts Habari's name, shocked by his sudden, life-saving arrival in the bathroom. But the ex-warrior quickly realizes his punch didn't even faze the water creature. It felt like hitting actual water, and his attack didn't seem to do any damage. Habari yells for the girl to hide while he takes the monster on. Terrified, the young woman wraps herself in a towel and agrees to stay out of the way. The ancient fighter watches her retreat and turns his full attention back to the watery foe. The creature heals instantly, returning to its form without a single scratch. Facing the monster, Habari realizes this enemy is actually a ninja with some serious special abilities. The villain lets out a wicked laugh, its eyes shining with a creepy yellow glow. The water monster actually praises the kid's sharp senses for noticing him inside the house. The warrior points a finger at the monster, calling him the serial killer terrorizing the city. The enemy holds up a tiny goldfish, mockingly asking the fish if it heard her. With a cruel smirk, the monster calls him a fool for expecting answers. He squeezes the helpless goldfish to show his pure brutality, then offers a sick deal. He might actually talk if Habari just hands over the girl he just rescued. Habari is absolutely stunned and furious at the water monster's disgusting offer. The beast compliments her beauty, mentioning he's seen her in a modeling magazine. Licking its lips, the creature says that a woman's tears are the sweetest thing to taste. Staring back with cold, emotionless eyes, the former warrior simply says he understands perfectly. With his eyes burning blue, the hero swears he's going to end this monster once and for all. A massive aura explodes around the hero as he prepares to let loose his full power. The water monster just laughs it off, claiming water is way more terrifying than he can imagine. The water beast activates a special technique and readies a strike with every ounce of its force. With glowing eyes, the protagonist stares down the beast and admits its face looks almost okay. Then he asks how the monster's heart is doing before launching a devastating counterattack. The man from the past plunges his hand deep into the enemy's liquid body and grabs it from the inside. With a look of pure grit, the former warrior finally figures out how this monster's ability works. He realizes the beast can turn into pure water to dodge hits suddenly. The enemy exploits the opening and begins flowing right into the hero's mouth. Our young fighter is blindsided as he feels cold liquid invading his lungs and blocking his throat. The creature brags it will flood him from within, drowning him until his very last breath is gone. Desperate, the man from the past realizes the intruder is already deep inside his own body. He tries to snatch the beast, but the water just slips right through his fingers like a ghost. The monster warns that once it finishes sliding inside, the protagonist is going to be dead for good. Wide-eyed and frantic, the hero sees the trap and tries to come up with a plan fast. Let's break down the 5 basic elements of ninjutsu first. Up are the classics: fire and water. Then you've got lightning, earths, and wind, which round out the core foundation of every ninja's power. After years of brutal training, a shinobi eventually awakens one of these 5 powerful elemental natures. On rare occasions, some ninjas awaken special and unusual elements, like smoke. Hattori's smoke style is actually just a unique spin on the destructive power of fire style ninja. For some weird reason though, Goku never managed to awaken any elemental abilities in his previous life. He reached the top using only physical enhancement and basic fighting techniques. Simply put, Goku's brand of ninjutsu turns his own body into a living, breathing weapon. But for a brawler who relies on contact, an enemy that can turn into liquid is bad news. The monster's red eyes glow, savoring the massive advantage it has in this lopsided showdown. This water demon knows this is a nightmare matchup for our hero and his physical combat style. The creature keeps sliding down his throat, and the hero starts gasping, unable to catch any air. With a mouthful of water, the former warrior knows things are going south fast. The monster cackles and tells the young warrior to just give up and let the end come. But our guy isn't finished. He grits his teeth and suddenly erupts with a surge of blue energy. An electric aura crackles around his fist as he focuses every bit of strength into one point. Letting out a roar, he hammers the bathroom wall and completely shatters it with his insane power. The water monster is stunned, unable to figure out why his opponent would trash his own house. The protagonist gets launched outside and hits the pavement in the middle of the dark, rainy street. Spitting out water, the man from the past coughs and struggles for air while the creature watches, wondering why on earth the kid decided to take the fight outside. The enemy thinks he's either desperate for a breath or has just completely lost his mind. It figures that heading into the rain will only make its water-based powers even more dangerous. Sprawled out, the protagonist smiles, clearly hiding a secret plan in mind. His voice is muffled by the liquid, but he says he came out here specifically for him. Then he drops a warning: if the monster wants to run, this is its only chance to bail. The beast is intrigued by his cockiness, even though its suffocation technique is clearly working just fine. The water monster assumes the kid is just begging for his life in some weird, delusional way. It gets ticked off at the boy's nerve, telling it to run instead of crying for mercy. The creature screams that the young warrior is just mocking it with that smug, confident attitude. The enemy shouts that it won't be running anywhere and prepares to double down on the attack. Refusing to retreat, it keeps forcing more and more water into the protagonist's lungs. The former warrior gags and tries to expel the creature that's slowly choking the life out of him. The monster tells him to just choke and claw at his own neck until the lights go out. Smiling with pure malice, the beast watches its victim struggle and start to release his glowing aura. Suddenly, the man from the past launches himself skyward with a jump that practically cracks the ground. He blasts high into the rainy sky, leaving the confused water monster behind on the wet street. The creature is confused. It doesn't get what its opponent is planning up in the air. The protagonist grabs a power line ready to weaponize the raw electricity. The monster looks up, wondering what that thing in the young warrior's hand is. It realizes it's a live wire and panics at the hero's insane idea. Desperate, the water enemy screams for the young man to wait and stop. With a daring look, the protagonist says they're playing a game of chicken now. He gathers the voltage in his hands, prepping a massive spinal strike. A massive electrical discharge blasts both the heroes and the water creatures at once. The monster howls in agony as a powerful surge of energy fries its body. The protagonist feels the burn too, but he stays focused on the attack. Habari doesn't know technology, but he understands the forces of nature. He could feel the lightning energy buzzing inside that black cable on the pole. The current hits the water creature. It screams as the shock rips through its body. His eyes turn pure white. The man from the past ignores the pain and channels. Blue lightning wraps around the protagonist as he turns into a human conductor. He finally spits the water out, forcing the creature to leave his body. The monster is kicked out, landing on the ground in a pool of electrified water. The former warrior floats above while the water creature thrashes, completely paralyzed on the floor. The enemy groans that it can't hold its form and slipped right out. Panicking, the monster knows it has to run and turn back into normal water. But the protagonist steps into the puddle and slowly walks toward his enemy. With a cold stare, he says the rain is stopping and time is up. The water creature panics, watching the warrior approach with that terrifying electric aura. The protagonist grabs the monster's tongue and glares at it with pure hatred. In one quick motion, he yanks the creature's tongue right out without mercy. Looking serious, the hero tells it that playing in the water is over. He charges his fist with electricity, ready to deliver the monster's final blow. The water creature begs for its life, crying for him to stop. But the former warrior just repeats that playtime's over and shows no mercy at all. With a fist glowing with high-voltage energy, he prepares to end this fight. The water monster watches with wide eyes as the electric fist nears. Terrified, the enemy screams for the protagonist to call off the attack. The warrior doesn't hesitate for a second. He lands a devastating punch right into the water creature's chest. The impact sends the monster's body flying into the air where it starts to fall apart. To finish it off, the protagonist launches it away with a massive kick. With lifeless, white eyes, the water monster is finally defeated by our hero. The enemy can't fight back anymore. Its liquid body just dissolves onto the ground. The goldfish drops, and the tired protagonist watches it fall. The former warrior reaches down, picks up the goldfish's fin, and holds it very carefully in his hands. He stares at the fin with a thoughtful look, reflecting on the entire fight. Glancing at the hole in the wall, the man from the past regrets wrecking the house. Back in the apartment, he feels the ache and realizes how much damage he took. He thinks that even with his powers, that electric shock really hurt him. The protagonist figures he was just lucky his enemy was weak against lightning. He knows he needs more training. A real lightning user would have ended him. With a weary sigh, the man from the past knows the grind continues. He opens the closet door and finds the red-haired girl hiding, totally terrified. She's startled by him and just stares back with wide, fearful eyes. With a kind smile, The protagonist tells her she's safe and not to worry. The redhead looks at him with a look of pure relief as a single tear rolls down her cheek. She notices the young warrior's clothes are totally scorched and fried from all that electricity. Worried, she asks what happened and who that monster was that attacked her in the bathroom. The former warrior just stares back in silence, unsure what to say to the terrified young woman. She asks him what on earth happened and why he is covered in all these injuries. Suddenly, the girl loses her balance and collapses into his arms, completely unable to stand up. The man from the past is caught off guard by the sudden contact and freezes in place. The young woman says her legs are giving out and asks to lean on his shoulder for support. Feeling awkward, the protagonist agrees and carefully helps her up so he does not hurt her. With a flushed, breathless face, the girl leans on her savior's shoulder, feeling deeply grateful. The former warrior feels weird being this close and struggles to keep his cool in front of her. She grips his shirt tightly and whispers a thank you to him for saving her life. With a grateful look, she rests her head on his chest and thanks him one more time. He is frozen by the gesture, and his face turns a light shade of red from the situation. Without warning, he scoops her up and carries her out of a closet with gentle care. She lets out a small yelp and asks him to please put her back down on the floor. The man from the past explains she asked for a shoulder, and this is just how he helps. He brings her to the bedroom and helps her lie down on the bed to rest for a bit. He actually apologizes for calling her weak and for all the trouble he ended up causing her. With a yawn, she says at least he seems a little bit stronger after that big fight of theirs. With a faint smile, he watches her rest, just glad that she is finally going to be okay. Later that night, he calls his friend and fills him in on everything regarding the water ninja. The redhead says he will report the case to the Ninja Union so they can send a recovery team. From the top of a skyscraper, the modern operative watches the city and waits for orders from his group. He sends over a photo of his prisoner and asks if this is the serial attacker they wanted. Red repeats that it is hard to say for sure, but as ninjutsu explains those rainy day sightings, showing the goldfish, he says the enemy must have watched his fight with Hat. He concludes the monster followed him home and waited for the perfect moment to strike. Looking at the fish in the tank, the man from the past says this is the likely scenario. The modern ninja agrees, saying they need to interrogate the suspect no matter what happens next. Suddenly, the operative spots something weird and goes on high alert from the top of the roof. He yells for Bari to be careful and look behind him because danger is closing in fast. He is shocked to see a bunch of green frogs crawling all over the captured man's body. The frogs appear to be performing some kind of jutsu on the man unconscious on the bed. Red yells that if it is the jutsu, he thinks the enemy is there for one reason. A frog with a long tongue gets ready to strike and silence the prisoner for good. The warrior realizes the pests are going to use poison needles to finish their deadly mission. Several sharp, needle-like tongues shoot out of the frog mouths and fly toward the men. The operative yells at him not to let the prisoner get killed, no matter what it takes. Thinking fast, the man from the past knows he is not going to make it in time. He focuses his ninjutsu into his fingertips and prepares for a long-range counterattack. With insane precision, he grabs several pins that were sitting in a case on his desk. He whips the pens around like in just 0.05 of a second, he launches them at the frogs with deadly force. The pens hit dead on, piercing through them with incredible accuracy. Every frog is hit. The attack is a total success. With a sharp gaze, the warrior proves his mastery of long-range combat once again. But one frog manages to escape and its long tongue darts right toward the man's neck. He sees the danger and gets ready to intercept the enemy's final, desperate strike. That frog's tongue lashes out, inches away from the unconscious prisoner's throat. But at the last second, our hero from the past slices the tongue with a simple pin. The tongue is cut clean off, shutting down the frog's attack at the very last moment. Wide-eyed and breathless, he realizes just how close he came to failing the man. Proud of his work, he aims for the final survivor. Blood sprays everywhere as the scene reveals the sheer precision of the hero's strike. He turns to grab the last frog, but the creature is already bolting through the window. The pen flies true, piercing the frog's body with incredible force and pinning it down. With a look of pure grit, the ancient warrior prepares to hunt down his final enemy. He leaps through the window, desperate to catch that frog before it vanishes into the night. Hand outstretched, the man from the past almost gets his fingers around the slimy, fleeing creature, but the frog lets out a puff of white smoke and slips right through his fingers. He's stunned. The frog literally vanished into thin air right in front of his eyes. Looking back at the bed, he sees the other frogs defeated, pinned down by his needles. A dark pool of blood and smoke stains the bed where he took those creatures out. Over the phone, the redhead asks for an update on the water ninja. The modern operative stares at the screen in total shock, trying to process the chaos he's seeing. The old warrior apologizes, admitting they were just a second too late to save him. He explains the man's symptoms match the other serial cases perfectly. It's the same pattern. He reports that the frogs are gone, except for the one that managed to get away. The redhead realizes the real poison user wasn't the monster, but someone else entirely. The modern operative hates losing that prisoner. He was their best lead for finding more info. But the warrior tells him they didn't leave empty-handed and shows him something big. He points out the man's tattoos. They were done recently, definitely less than a month ago. The redhead is floored. He knows exactly what this discovery means for their whole investigation. It means that just 4 weeks ago, this guy was a normal civilian with 0 powers. The operative explains that ninja tattoos are top secret and nearly impossible for an outsider to get. He can't believe this guy mastered the water star in such a short amount of time. Our hero wonders how anyone could possibly learn that much. In less than a month, a mysterious hand appears. It looks like the poison user is building a massive army. This enemy has found a way to turn total amateurs into ninjutsu experts almost overnight. They're both left wondering how this is possible. This situation just got a lot more dangerous. If they don't move fast, people across the city will start waking up with ninja abilities. That would trigger a full-blown clan war and a massacre of innocent people in the streets. The modern operative looks terrified. You can see his whole face go pale at the thought. He says the Ninja Union will study the water ninja's body to hunt for clues. They need to find any sign of drugs or surgery that could explain his new power. The hero agrees with the plan and gets ready for the next phase of the mission. Standing on the roof, the redhead asks Sabari to come with him to the Ninja Union headquarters. He explains that this is bigger than they imagined and he needs to introduce him to the chief. The warrior agrees to go, ready to join the organization and stop this threat for good. Under the light of the full moon, he looks over the city and prepares for the coming battle. He tells himself it's time to head to the Ninja Union and crack this case open. Meanwhile, a man wakes up in a bizarre place overgrown with thick tropical plants and trees. His eyes go wide as he tries to figure out where he is and what happened. He panics, wondering how he ended up in this mysterious, unknown place. He suddenly realizes his arms and legs are tied. He tries to struggle and break free from the ropes, but they're way too tight and he just doesn't have the strength to fight back. A voice tells him to stay calm and remember who he is, to make sense of everything. He remembers being mid-mission before getting blindsided by a heavy blow from behind. Up on a rooftop, a ninja in a purple headband watches him closely. A weird scent hits his nose as mysterious purple smoke starts swirling all around him. That purple mist knocks him out cold, and he plummets off the roof, completely unable to fight back. When he finally comes to, he realizes he was drugged and dragged to this strange spot. Bound and trapped, the ninja starts to panic. He has no clue where he is or who did this. The air is thick and humid, like a deep jungle. Suddenly, a bright green frog hops in front of him and lets out a terrifying, bone-chilling croak. Shaken by the loud noise, he scans the area, desperately trying to figure out what is happening. He ducks behind a plant, noticing dozens of frogs scattered throughout this mysterious, creepy clearing. A woman's voice asks if he's finally awake as a sharp, high-heeled boot steps into view. A woman in a weird mask with glowing eyes mocks him, saying he was sleeping like a baby. The captive ninja demands to know who she is, but she just approaches with a wicked, mocking smile. Moving with total grace, the mysterious woman asks who he thinks she is, keeping the mystery alive. He decides to play her game, asking what his prize is if he manages to guess her name. In his head, he's planning to keep her talking while he looks for a way out of those ropes. He starts carefully dislocating his joints, hoping to slip through the tight bonds holding him down. With one massive, concentrated effort, he almost breaks free. But then something very strange happens. Suddenly, his arms feel like lead. He can't move them at all, no matter how hard he tries. The woman tells him not to worry. The only thing he can still move is his head. He glances down and realizes he is stuck inside a barrel filled with bubbling purple liquid. Realizing he's soaked in neurotoxin, the ninja accuses her of being a master poison user. She says her reputation precedes her, but she isn't the one actually making the poison. She points to a nearby frog, revealing that these creatures are the ones truly responsible for the toxin. The man is absolutely stunned by this revelation. He can't believe what he's hearing. The woman goes on about how beautiful the frogs are, calling them her precious little jewels. She explains that these frogs can turn anything they eat into a deadly toxin. She uses a spray bottle to feed the frog some kind of mysterious, unknown substance. Her only job, she says, is making sure her precious, deadly frogs get their meals. The frog's throat pouch swells up as it starts processing the strange food its owner just provided. She reveals that she mixes strong poisons into their food so they can create something even more lethal. The recipe is complicated, but the final result makes all that effort worth it. The bound ninja yells at her, accusing her of using people as lab rats for her twisted experiments. She shrugs and says humans experiment on frogs all the time, so it's really the same thing. The frog keeps processing the substance, getting ready to release a brand new batch of toxin. She decides it's time to see how this new batch performs. Slowly stepping toward her captive prisoner, she squeezes the frog hard, forcing the creature to spray its deadly toxin right at the tied-up man. Several other frogs join in, all releasing their toxic chemicals at the same time onto the poor prisoner. He feels the poison coursing through him and groans about the disgusting sensation taking over his body. She says she has finally silenced him, though she admits the technique is not perfect yet. She explains that this toxin leaves the body intact, which means it can still leave traces behind. Because of that, people would eventually trace the poison back to her. She admits she needs a much stronger poison to prepare for what is coming. Next time, she wants a poison so lethal that it leaves no body and zero traces behind. The frog's long tongue snaps out, preparing to strike the prisoner with this new experimental toxin. She's looking for a poison so powerful it can completely erase her victims from existence. The bound ninja curses her out, gathering every bit of his remaining strength to fight back. His eyes glow bright red as he unleashes his hidden power, and a fire seal appears. He uses his ultimate move, Fire Style, Blazing Fang, to burn the poison right out of his system. The woman smiles, telling him he should be grateful for sacrificing himself for her research. A fireball forms and the ninja tries to use his own power to strike back at her. But the frog's tongue is way faster, hitting his forehead squarely with a dose of toxin. The poison takes hold and the ninja's face begins melting away like hot wax. He screams in agony while his entire body slowly dissolves from that powerful poison. Watching the scene with satisfaction, she smiles, knowing her new poison worked perfectly. She claims she finally nailed the mixture to get the result she wanted. The ninja's body dissolves completely, leaving nothing but clothes on the dirt. The woman declares that her path of poison is truly the strongest ninjutsu of them all. She kisses the frog in gratitude, admiring her deadly creation with a look of pure pride. Meanwhile, at Tokyo Station, the protagonist and his friend get ready for their mission. They step into an elevator and drop 180 meters below ground in total silence. They reach a mysterious ancient temple hidden beneath the busy city streets. This is the secret headquarters of the country's feared Ninja Union. Both guys walk through the courtyard toward the main hall. The former warrior is stunned by this mansion built so deep under the city. A woman in a kimono and wooden sandals appears to greet them at the entrance. Holding a cage in her hand, she welcomes the two ninjas who just arrived. The parrot inside the cage says they've been waiting for the legendary ninja Habar. The protagonist is shocked to hear a bird talking, so the woman apologizes for him. The parrot introduces himself as Bankawa, head of the union, and says he'll test him. The former warrior and his friend stay quiet, staring at the parrot with serious looks. The chief explains his technique lets him borrow the eyes and mouths of animals. The woman in the kimono introduces herself as Shizu, the caretaker for the chief's animals. The redhead explains the chief always speaks through animals and he's never actually seen his real body. The parrot apologizes for not being able to show his face and hopes they understand. The protagonist gets the chief's caution since revealing his form could lead to total ruin. The parrot thanks the young warrior for being understanding and prepares the test. The redhead cuts in, asking about this test the chief mentioned for his new friend. He insists that Habari is completely trustworthy and there's no need for a test right now. But the chief says he doesn't doubt the report, he just needs more info first. He explains they need to know which element the protagonist's technique belongs to. Without knowing his element and level, they can't authorize him to join the mission. The former warrior then reveals that his ninjutsu doesn't possess any specific element. The parrot says he's already aware that the protagonist's ninjutsu. The chief starts listing the 5 basic elements, beginning with fire style. Next, he mentions the water style, which is the direct opposite of fire. The third element is the lightning style, known for being fast and powerful. Fourth is the earth style, which focuses on defense and manipulating the ground. And finally, wind style, which is focused on cutting and long-range attacks. He says that even without using any of them, Goku became the strongest. The image shows the legendary Goku among a pile of defeated enemies. His legend reached the modern era, but now he's in the body of young Habar. The protagonist faces the chief with a serious look, preparing for what's next. The chief says with a new body, he might have gained new potential. The redhead is surprised and admits he hadn't considered that possibility before the test. The former warrior explains that ninjutsu is nature's power manifested through the body. If the body changes, the element might change too, or even awaken something new. Suddenly a black cat appears and the caretaker looks at it with a serious expression. A candle is lit, and the test to find the protagonist's element is starting. The parrot asks if the young warrior wants to know what his new element is. The black cat brings the candle over. The chief says they are going to find out together. Everyone in the room stares at the hero, dying to see what the result will be. The parrot announces the start of the flame-reading ritual to reveal his secret power. Inside the massive hall, the hero sits before the candle and prepares. The redhead and the caretaker watch from afar while the test starts in total silence and focus. Closing his eyes, the man from the past tunes into the candle flame and searches deep within himself. Golden dust starts drifting off his body, and his hair stands on end from the raw energy. The modern operative watches in total awe, shocked by just how much power his friend actually has. The hero presses his hands together like he is praying, focusing even harder on the reading ritual. He starts forming the 9-syllable hand seals, beginning with the one they call Rin. Next, he moves to the second seal, Pio, and keeps the sequence going. The following seals are Tito, Shao, Kai, and Jin. performed with perfect precision and insane speed. It turns out these are the core seals used to sharpen a ninja's natural skills. Then comes the eye seal, which he forms with his hands shut and his fingers interlaced. Finally, he forms the Zen seal, holding his hands open with his fingers pointing straight up. By weaving these 9 syllables, he can wake up the sleeping ninja powers inside his body. The redhead is blown away, watching his friend's ninjutsu sparkle like a diamond. A golden aura wraps around the hero's body as his energy floods the entire room. The parrot is stunned by the sight, shouting that the legendary Goku's power is absolutely incredible. The animal caretaker starts shaking and breaking into a cold sweat from the intense pressure of the energy. With her eyes wide, she looks like she is really struggling under the hero's massive power. The chief tells her to close her eyes and stop trying to fight the pressure of the aura. The girl keeps shaking, looking like she might actually pass out from the force of the ninja. The chief notes that she doesn't have the training to handle that power with all 5 senses yet. Eyes closed, the young woman tries to relax and get her ragged breathing back under control. We get an explanation on the flame reading ritual and how it actually works in practice. It is a method for checking the nature of a ninja's skills by watching a candle flame. If someone has the earth style, the flame's color will turn into a bright, intense green. Now that the ritual is going, everyone is wondering what this legendary warrior's element will be. The hero opens his eyes, and the candle flame finally starts reacting to his energy. But the candle flame stays totally normal, showing 0 reaction to the young warrior's power. The redhead is confused, asking what went wrong and why the flame didn't change at all. He looks over at the caretaker and asks if the ritual failed or if something else happened. Candle smoke drifts through the room as the hero slowly opens his eyes once again. He realizes that nothing happened and the ritual didn't actually reveal a new element for him. The parrot stays quiet, seemingly processing the very unexpected result of the test. With a sigh of relief, the man from the past sees that his power hasn't changed. He smiles, concluding that once again, no specific element has manifested inside his body. The redhead and the caretaker yell in shock, unable to believe what they just witnessed. Standing up, the hero says he doesn't see how lacking an element is going to stop him. The modern operative complains, saying he was actually looking forward to seeing a crazy test result. The parrot watches the scene silently, appearing to be deep in thought about something important. Eyes locked on the candle, he realizes something might be off with how the ritual ended. The chief wonders if it's even possible to polish ninja skills that much without an element. He calls for the caretaker, telling her not to blow out the candle and save it as. The parrot says he'll examine that candle later to try and figure out what actually happened. The girl's confused by the ask, but she agrees to follow her master's orders anyway. She says, "Yes, sir," then gets ready to pack the candle away for testing. Holding the candle, the caretaker heads out. Alone with the others, the chief declares the test finished, admitting that the results caught everyone there completely off guard. She comes back with a tray, respectfully handing over the official ninja license to our hero. The ex-warrior grabs a license, looking it over with a serious, heavy sense of responsibility. The chief explains he's cleared to use ninjutsu in the city, provided he stays out of sight. He adds that if any union member doubts him, he just needs to show the license. The parrot chirps that the water ninja's autopsy report has finally been delivered. The photo shows the guy's tattoo, and the report spills some major secrets about his past. Both the protagonist and the redhead are shocked by how fast those details came in. The caretaker hands over a scroll, telling our hero that everything he needs is inside. He grabs the scroll, ready to carefully comb through all the information written there. The redhead wonders if they'll find clues about that mysterious poison user hidden inside. The chief makes it official our protagonist is now a member of the Ninja Union. The old-school warrior promises to use his power for peace, since that's exactly how he's always lived. Standing outside, the two friends stare at the graffiti-covered school, ready for whatever comes next. The redhead flicks a fidget spinner while mulling over the new intel they just got. He admits the scroll totally blindsided him with what it revealed about their enemy. The protagonist watches the school windows, tracking the students and teachers in their daily routines. He's starting to think the poison user might be hiding right under their noses at school. The modern operative clicks on his vape pen, blowing a thick cloud of vapor into the air. He says it's tough to swallow, but the evidence points directly to that possibility. With a fast move, he torches the scroll, erasing any trace of the intel forever. The former warrior notes that since his home was hit, the enemy already knows his face. The redhead nods, agreeing that this puts their hero at a massive disadvantage for the mission. But with a cocky grin, the man from the past tells the enemy to bring it on. The two friends head across the schoolyard, ready to hunt down the poison user. From the shadows, a masked figure watches them closely, wearing a cold and sinister smile. It looks like the masked woman is already plotting her next move against the ninja duo. Inside a classroom, a shadowy figure with a bright grin appears in the dark window. Meanwhile, the boys head up those graffiti-covered stairs. The hero's buddy wonders how the poison user could be here when he already swept the place. He finally realizes that this poison user is operating on a totally different level. The story jumps back a few hours to a city park. Right then, our protagonist was just about to dive into his lunch of meat and white rice. Sitting on a bench he eats, thinking he'd never imagined having meat and rice in his life. He pops a piece of meat into his mouth, really savoring the simple, tasty meal. His face lights up instantly. He's absolutely blown away by how incredible the food tastes. He smiles and calls the food a luxury, while the redhead just finds his reaction hilarious. Once he's finished, he turns to his buddy and asks what's written on the scroll. The redhead explains that the water ninja was actually just a normal citizen until recently. The former warrior stays quiet, listening intently to every detail mentioned in the report. The photo shows a bald man named Sheet, a city worker with a criminal record who loved his pet fish more than anything else. According to the scroll, his fish were rescued and are now being looked after by the chief. The man from the past is glad the fish is safe, so he keeps listening to the details. His friend reveals that the medical examiners found a tiny injection mark on the man's body. Hearing that, the protagonist's eyes go wide. He finally understands just how serious this is. The redhead yells that the sudden ninjutsu awakening has to be tied to that mysterious injection. He says the craziest part is they actually traced the origin of those specific needles used. Those strange needles look like they were mass-produced for one very specific, dark purpose. Using his secret technique, the chief had local animals track the delivery routes of the needles. An eagle soars high above the city, following the trail left behind by those mysterious needles. To everyone's absolute shock, the delivery destination was the very school where they study. Our hero finally gets it as the flashback to that park conversation comes to an end. Back in the present, the former warrior grabs a branch and starts thinking things through. He realizes the poison user must be hiding somewhere right inside the school walls. He pulls a blade and starts sharpening the branch, which totally catches his friend off guard. The redhead asks what he's up to, and the young man says it's better than nothing. Grinning confidently, he calls the sharpened wooden branch his brand new secret weapon. The two friends head into the school building, ready to track down their hidden enemy. The modern operative warns his buddy that the enemy already knows exactly what they look like. He tells his partner to stay alert and watch out for anyone approaching them at school. Some girls spot him in the hallway and freak out, even asking to film her. One girl cheers him on for finally taking down that massive bully, Kumazawa. The redhead's stunned, wondering how everyone knows about the brawl. Then, a teacher shows up and orders him to the guidance office after class because of the fight. Our hero's friend realizes things are getting weird since even the teacher knows about the incident. He remembers only they were there, and the bully's cronies definitely wouldn't have said a word. Now that everyone knows about the fight, the redhead wonders who they can actually trust here. The redhead yells in a total panic that things are looking really bad for them now. He realizes if the poison user is hiding in this crowd, they could be attacked any time. Looking serious, the protagonist says the enemy has probably already marked him as their next targets. He figures out that someone was lurking, watching the fight with Kumazawa from a distance. The camera zooms in on the eye of a frog that was spying on their fight. The former warrior gets thoughtful as he starts putting all the pieces of the puzzle together. Smiling, he bets it was actually the poison user who spread the rumors about the fight. Even if they run, the students will keep coming because their secret cover is totally blown. A massive crowd of students rushes toward the two friends in the hallway. As the crowd closes in, the protagonist says it is time to act and resolve the situation. He flashes a coin to his friend with a confident smirk, getting ready for the plan. Charging it with blue energy, he flicks the coin with insane power, shocking the redhead. The coin flies like a bullet, shattering the window into 1,000 pieces. Shards of glass spray everywhere, terrifying the students. The hero's friend is speechless, and a girl screams at the deafening noise. The students freeze, and the protagonist warns them to watch where they step on the floor. The redhead is seriously impressed, realizing his friend just smashed a window with a coin. The modern operative finally sees the plan. Looking down at the floor covered in sharp glass, those glass shards become perfect traps, and the teacher orders everyone back to their own classrooms. The teacher says she called a janitor, while one girl waves goodbye to our main hero. The redhead notes they dodged the crowd, but it didn't actually solve their real problem. But with a smile, the former warrior says he finally understands everything about the enemy. He reveals to his shocked buddy that he already knows exactly who the poison user is. The hero says no more surprise attacks. It is finally their turn to strike back first. They arrive at the guidance office where the teacher is waiting. Inside, she is making tea while waiting for the student. She complains about him being late, thinking about the sweets she bought for their chat. Suddenly, the protagonist walks into the room, and the teacher is totally startled by his arrival. He stares her down with a dead serious look while she greets him, looking totally shocked. She says he actually showed up, but before she can start lecturing, he tells her to quit acting. Our hero flat out accuses her of being the poison user, but the teacher just plays dumb. In a flashback, he asks if she really thought nobody noticed how she reacted earlier. We see the window shattering again as the student starts screaming in pure terror. While everyone else was distracted by the broken glass, he targeted their blind spots. With a lightning-fast move, he hurls something straight toward the crowd of students. That single attack was aimed at every person standing in the hallway. He used tiny wooden needles that managed to tag all the students instantly. The needles were completely harmless, way too small to actually cause any real pain. The teacher was standing right in the middle of that crowd when the attack hit, but he points out she was the only one with the reflexes to dodge it. The young man explains that needles are basic tools for a pro ninja, which is why an ordinary teacher shouldn't have been able to dodge a surprise attack. The teacher suddenly breaks into an uncontrollable laugh, revealing her true colors. With a twisted look on her face, she screams and shows her true villainous side. She admits she's been caught in gripping a pen, vows to take him down right here. The narrator confirms that this poison user is the monster behind all the city's problems. Looking completely unhinged, the teacher admits the young warrior finally saw through her. Our protagonist tells her he's ending this right now, holding the pin ready in his hand. She just laughs at the threat, claiming there's no reason to stay in that body anymore. The hero stares her down with total determination, ready for the life-or-death battle ahead. She screams and tears her blouse open, showing off the scorpion tattoos on her skin. The former warrior recognizes that specific mark as a legendary shinobi tattoo. Suddenly, her body begins to twist and warp in a disturbing way as her bones snap into positions that are impossible for any normal human. A thick purple smoke swallows her whole as the terrifying transformation finally finishes. Her clothes turn into a dark ninja outfit while her body looks way more powerful. The man from the past realizes she's performing a high-level ninja transformation technique. He knows he's dealing with a dangerous veteran ninja who has decades of experience. His intense gaze shows he knows exactly how serious this life-or-death situation really is. The ninja now wears a white mask with long red hair, introducing herself as Mocha, the deadly assassin who is hiding in plain sight as a teacher. Our warrior is stunned because she even managed to change her entire physical build. Mocha gives him props for his sharp eyes, thinking her disguise was actually flawless. Suddenly, she starts croaking like a giant frog and gets ready to lunge at him. She twists her body into a weird pose while making frog noises in the classroom. With a roar, she lunges with insane speed, while a blue aura glows around our hero as he prepares for the coming clash. Both ninjas charge at each other, and the first exchange of blows is about to explode. The villain wears a creepy smile while the protagonist keeps his cool, looking totally serious. He tries to land a kick, but the ninja defends it by using her tail like a sharp whip. With a blur of motion, she dodges and slips right behind the young warrior. They trade blows at high speed as the fight gets way more intense and lethal. Suddenly, the former warrior notices something off and his eyes go wide with shock. The ninja is holding an injection needle filled with a weird, glowing green liquid. She lunges with the syringe, trying to jam the poison into the hero's body. Suddenly, a tongue lashes out and a frog emerges from her mouth to strike, forcing the hero to backflip and scatter traps across the floor to protect himself. He realizes she uses a weird, unpredictable fighting style designed to keep him guessing. He knows he can't slip up. One tiny scratch and it's game over. The villain is ticked he dodged her. She glares at him with pure hatred. The young warrior counters, landing a fast, precise strike on the ninja's body. She looks down and sees the broken syringe, leaking green liquid everywhere. He says he spotted that dangerous weapon while they were trading blows, so he used his pen to shatter the needle before things got worse. The villain screams as green gas rises from the floor. Her precious syringe. She fumes, shouting that he has no idea how hard that toxin was to make. It's not like making medicine. One dose is enough to kill a normal person. Creating the perfect batch requires countless samples and even more human sacrifices. Looking insane, she asked if he even understood the cost of that syringe. Glowing with a blue aura, he asks how many people died for her experiments. The ninja calmly admits she used 178 people for her research. She adds that since arriving in the city, there have only been 14 victims. The villain claims she makes sure to remember every single person she sacrificed. Hearing this, a dark, powerful energy begins to wrap around his entire body. With eyes glowing, he lunges at the ninja, pen grip tight in his hand. Suddenly, a girl's name Mami Yui pops up on the screen with a smiling face. The warrior grabs her neck and demands to know if that was her victim. With his pen aimed right at her throat, the tension reaches a breaking point. He asks how the girl is doing, and the villain just flashes a smirk. He goes quiet, realizing that something absolutely terrible is about to go down. The scene cuts to an apartment where a girl named Mami Yui is alone in her room, peacefully doing some yoga. A yoga and Pilates video plays on her phone, keeping her fit and healthy. With her headphones on, she follows along with the video, stretching her body and truly enjoying this rare moment of peace and tranquility. Back at the fight, a ninja confirms that the girl is officially a hostage. She explains her ninjutsu is controlled from afar using hidden, poisonous frogs. A massive red stain appears, and his face instantly turns dark and grim. Smirking, the villain asks if he's actually getting angry about the whole situation. She warns him not to move a single muscle, or things will get ugly. If he moves, she'll kill Mama Yui without thinking twice. Suddenly, a massive swarm of poisonous frogs covers the entire ceiling above them. The frogs start drooling a weird liquid as they gear up for the attack. He stands perfectly still, pen in hand, trying to figure out his next move. Frog spit drips onto the floor, causing yellow smoke to rise from the corrosion. The villain walks over, asking if he's shocked by how well her trap worked. She used her ninjutsu to hide the frogs, just waiting for the perfect moment. Smiling, she brags that her frogs are experts at hiding and being patient. She makes a deal. If he doesn't want the girl hurt, he just has to stand there and let her finish him. He scoffs, saying she's really resorting to using a hostage to win this. She agrees, pointing out that holsters are a classic tactic for any real ninja. But with a confident smirk, the man from the past tells her try your luck. The ninja is stunned by his reaction, and her eyes go wide with shock. She freezes, unable to wrap her head around how he could be so confident. Gritting her teeth, she boils with rage at the young warrior's sheer audacity. She screams that he's bluffing, but suddenly her frogs fall. She doesn't care and screeches for their tongues to strike and finish him once and for all. Grinning like a maniac, she keeps barking orders to her strange creatures. The ninja yells for their tongues to rip him apart, wishing him a slow, painful death. She demands her beasts finish the young warrior off right now, showing zero mercy. Her red eyes burn with pure hate as she screams in total fury. She tells her monsters to deliver a brutal final blow, but then he is gone. The ninja's left blinking, wondering where the hero disappeared to. She can't believe it. How could he move when the hostage is still in danger? In a blur, he is behind her, landing a sharp, perfect strike to her neck. The ninja is frozen in shock while the former warrior whispers something in a low voice. With one quick strike to the villain's throat, he takes it down for good. Her mask hits the floor as she stares at him, stunned. With one last breath, the villain's body goes limp and hits the ground. The battle is finally over. Purple smoke starts pouring off the ninja's body. While the hero watches the scene unfold, the body turns into a giant, fake decoy right on the floor. The young man realizes she used a dummy and admits her substitution jutsu was actually pretty solid. Substitution is a classic ninja trick for getting out of tight spots fast. The ninja swaps places with an object nearby to dodge an enemy's killing blow, but pulling that off with a living being takes insane ninjutsu control. Using a decoy like that is advanced stuff for a remote control ninja. The protagonist turns toward the hidden ninja and asks how she liked that move. The villain glares at him, twisting in pain from the nasty wound in her throat. She screams in rage, her red eyes locking onto him with a mix of fury and agony. Then she starts weaving hand seals, getting ready for one last, desperate attack. She yells for her frogs to murder the hostage girl back at the hero's house. Back there, the girl finishes her yoga pose while the frogs get ready to strike. The frogs lunge at the girl, launching their high-speed attack in a heartbeat. But suddenly, the hero's red-haired friend shows up and says he won't let that happen. Surrounded by a smoky aura, he appears in the room to keep her safe. Using smoke clones, he takes out the venomous frogs and rescues the girl. With a single hit, he wipes out every frog as purple smoke fills the entire room. This is the signature smoke clone jutsu of the hero's best friend. The girl catches her breath, mentioning she only had 5 seconds left on her workout. The redhead mutters that attacking a beautiful lady goes against everything he stands for. He tells her Hata has her back and that nothing bad will happen on his watch. Chewing on his e-cigarette, he thinks about how everything is going exactly to plan. In a flashback, the protagonist asks the redhead to stay and protect the girl. His friend is shocked, asking if he is really fighting the poison user all alone. He is worried about his buddy's safety and double checks if he is sure about this. The former warrior says not to sweat it. He will handle his end of the mission. The man explains that based on the precision, they are dealing with a professional remote control ninja. He says these ninjas always strike to places at once using a hostage. The redhead confirms the girl is safe and asks how the fight is going. Looking through the window, the operative is totally stunned by how pretty she is. He thinks she is gorgeous up close and feels a bit jealous of his roommate friend. With heart in his eyes and smoke coming from his ears, he falls head over heels. Back at school, the sun sets as the intense battle between the ninjas rages on. The hero says the hostage plan failed while the ninjas squirm in pain. She admits that bringing a friend was a smart move and gives him props for it. Glowing with a blue aura, he agrees, saying she left herself wide open for an attack. With her red eyes burning with rage, the ninja gears up to strike again. She screams at him to shut up and lashes out with tongues to pierce his body. The hero takes the hit head-on and gets ready to counter without showing any fear. With one swift move, he slices through the ninja attacks as red liquid sprays the room. He tells her he's already read her every move. She's just not that much of a threat. With a quick, precise strike, he treats his pen like a blade and goes for him. The substitution frog gets sliced right in half. The ninja screams in sudden pain and shock. She tumbles from the ceiling as a red spray follows the young warrior's perfect, lethal blow. The young guy says they aren't even close, but he chose to protect her anyway. In a quick flashback, the girl asks if he's already heading out for school this morning. She gives him props for heading back to class so soon after leaving the hospital. Smiling, she tells him not to be late and admits she will be worried about him. Back in the fight, the ninja gets tagged by several pens and shrieks from the agony. The protagonist realizes no one has ever worried about him before. It's a confusing feeling. He says yes, while the ninja glares back with a look of pure pain and intense suffering. But he admits it didn't feel half bad. That's why he just made a big decision. The villain yells for him to stop, but he just keeps coming with those precise strikes. He decides to pick up some milk for the girl and make it home for dinner. The ninja glares with those bloodshot eyes. She's clearly reached her limit from all the pain. The protagonist says he's ending this right now. He's setting up for one final, crushing blow. Grinning through the pain, the villain looks like she's plotting something to flip the script. Pen's grip tight. He gets ready for the final strike to take the ninja down. Suddenly his body just freezes. He has no idea what just happened to him. He realizes he's been poisoned, but he didn't feel a thing during the heat of battle. The ninja stares down at him from the ceiling, mocking him with a smug, victorious grin. She asks, what's wrong, with an air of total superiority and cold contempt. With a smirk, she asks if he wants an explanation for what's happening to his body. She calls him a brat and wonders who the real rookie is in this ninja fight. Screaming, she declares that the real show of her poisoned path is only just beginning. Meanwhile, the girl waits by the window, complaining about how long he's taking to get back. Looking worried, she stares out at the horizon, waiting for any news about her friend.